Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to this week's episode of Talk Exchange. Today we have with us incoming National President Leif Welhaven. If you've never met Leif, today is a great way to learn a little bit more about him and why there's a lot of excitement to his upcoming presidency. And as with most of our episodes, there are some great quotes that came out from today. One of my favorites is when Leif says, "People are not moved by logic. People are moved by passion." And I think that sums up a lot of what Exchange is about and why a lot of people volunteer their time to this organization. He also talks about leading with your heart and not your head and the importance of empowering Exchange. So we hope you enjoy today's episode with Leif Welhaven.
Welcome to Talk Exchange. I'm National Exchange Club CEO Tracy Edwards, and I'm joined by Christy Lindahl, Communications Director. Hi, Christy.
Hey, good morning, Tracy. How are you?
I'm good. How are you today?
I'm doing well.
Good. We're rolling. I'm excited about our guest today. I met Leif. I was trying to think of what year that was when I went out to Billings to visit clubs, and then we went to the district convention. And I know when we got to the district convention, people told me I had to meet him and encourage him in leadership because they had already identified him as a leader.
Mm-hmm.
So we go way back. It's been awesome to witness his journey. So today we're joined by our 2023-24 National President, Leif Welhaven from Billings, Montana. Welcome, Leif.
Hello. Thank you for having me.
Good to see you, and we're excited. It won't be long now that you'll be installed as the national president. And, that takes us back to, like I said, when I met you, but I know you've been a member for quite a lot of years. So take us through your journey. What attracted you, and then what made you want to continue in your leadership journey?
Oh, great question. Originally back in 1999, which is crazy to believe, 24 years ago now, a gentleman, a friend of mine named Alan, invited me to a breakfast meeting, said that it's a great way to network, build your sphere of influence. I was a younger man at the time, looking obviously to network and connect with more business people in the community. And so he just invited me to a simple breakfast meeting. And I thought enough of him, and I admired him for thinking enough of me to invite me. I thought he was somewhat of a pillar in the community, really, to me. And so I wasn't going to let him down. So I showed up to a breakfast meeting. At that time, I think that club might have been 40 or 50 members strong. Mm-hmm. But the fact that they were serving, kids and community, veterans, and the prevention of child abuse, I was like, I could jam on that. I really was excited about that. I thought that was really cool. My family was very young at the time. My children were very young. And so that was a little bit of a stumbling block or a hurdle for me. I realized that I probably couldn't be as committed maybe as I wanted to be. But I quickly realized that everybody always says, I want to give 100 or 110% to something. And I can respect that. And I kind of felt that way at the time. But I also realized that everybody's 100% looks different. And so if I could give a couple hours a month or a couple hours a quarter, whatever that looked like, I knew that it would benefit not only the club and myself personally, but ultimately it would benefit the community. So I was on board with that. So he invited me to a couple more meetings, and he shoved an application at me and said, "Hey, let's go." And the rest is history. So
I like that.
That's kind of how I got involved.
We talk to a lot of people, and we appreciate that everybody gives within their own capacity. And like you said, it looks different for everybody. I was at our Texas, Louisiana Gulf Coast District Convention this past weekend, and the theme was giving 112% based on the fact that Exchange has been in business for 112 years. But that was kind of the theme, that everybody's 112% looks different, right? Depending on your life stage. It's really what's important. It's not so much your age, right? Like we've discovered, it's more what life stage are you in? Do you have kids? Do you have aging parents? Are you going to school? It's just that stage of life.
Yeah. And it sounds like the club that you joined, Leif, was willing to and able and happy to work with your situation at the time, which is what we look to.
Yeah, I always, it's a great point. I I look back at that time and like to Tracy's point, everybody's 112% looks different. I like that angle on it. And so, yeah, I think the biggest thing is they were able to meet me or willing to meet me where I was at. And so I've
Yes.
always taken that as a great lesson to meet others where they're at. And, if everybody chips in a little, you can make a huge difference. And I would say that even if you can only put in a couple hours, say a month, let's say, the beauty of exchange, in my opinion, is that you're able to then affect multiple organizations and have greater impact. Whereas if you were outside of exchange and wanted to volunteer and serve your community, a lot of times people are somewhat forced to pick one or two passions that are near and dear to their hearts, where with exchange, you really get to spread the love. And I think that's important.
From the marketing perspective, Leif, I remember years back, you and I had a conversation about the progress of someone's membership and how to show them the commitment they're making in their communities, that impact of touching all the different organizations. And I believe you were the first one to point out to me in this succinct sentence that people give their time to exchange, but they're able to give through exchange to all these different community organizations. And that really resonated with a lot of our members once I shared that thought. So could you tell me a little bit more about what exchange is like in your community as opposed to what you've seen across the country? What makes Billings unique?
Well, I think a lot of people don't realize is our city really relative to other parts of the country is quite small. I think our general population is about 125,000. I think there's 7 clubs now, 500 plus members, which I think to some people seems like a lot. But to your point, we really had to be very intentional, and specifically with that club, they didn't want to be braggadocious. They didn't want to beat their chest and say, hey, look how much money we're giving away, or look at the impact we're making. And so we were really able to kind of flip the script and really just change the narrative, and said, instead of saying how much we gave, we started to say things like, hey, we're thrilled to partner with the local prevention of child abuse center, or we're proud to partner with the local food bank, whatever that looks like, and really start to shed a light and bring a light and advocacy towards the organizations that we're giving to. Because sometimes you can't always stroke a big check, but if you can highlight that organization through social media, have them as a speaker, all of a sudden you start to bring, kind of their fan base, all of a sudden becomes part of your fan base. And so all of a sudden everybody is getting excited about it. A couple years ago, I did a simple Facebook post. It was just off the top of my head, where I tagged in all of the local organizations that we had given something to over the last, say, 25 years. And the graphic was just a picture of our logo. And it was literally over 150 local organizations that in a lot of cases have a nationwide reach as well, like Big Brothers Big Sisters or Boys and Girls Clubs, and sometimes it was just the local ones as well. But I sat there and thought, man, 150, and so all of those 150 groups now are fans of exchange. And so when you can create that synergy and excitement that we're all in this together, I think it just changes the narrative. Now all of a sudden exchange becomes the cool thing to do.
Right. Well, that's a little thing, but it's a powerful thing, how you handled that, because we always talk about mutually beneficial relationships for the exchange club and the community, right? So the community is aware of the value of having an exchange club in their community. And that's a great way to do it. It's simple and easy, but has great power and great reach. So that is tremendous.
Yeah, definitely. And we always see a lot of members come in from those partnerships as well. It's not just about building that community relationship. Those people fully invest themselves in exchange then.
Absolutely. So you mentioned, responsibility and capacity. And as we all know, when you step into more leadership responsibility roles, then you make that intentional decision to devote more capacity. So at what point did you say, it's the right time in my life that I want to be the district president? Then you sat on the national board, and now you're getting ready to be installed as the national president. So at what point did you say, I love this organization, I want to continue my leadership journey here?
I think you hit it right on the head with that responsibility. I felt like I had the ability. And so my response to the need in the community, the need in the district, the need in the region, the need in the country, I felt I had more to give. And there was, lucky for me, I had people nudging me along the way saying, you know, I see great things in you. And they saw things in me I didn't even see for myself. But I thought enough of them. I thought, man, there must be something to that if they're nudging me that way. And so I always answered the call and thought, man, I really do have everybody has different gifts that they share.
Yes.
And so I always say I'm certainly not the best treasurer or secretary or newsletter person, but boy, I can sure do some other things that might be of help to the organization. And so it was really just a response, and being able. So I call that just that responsibility. I felt I owed it to the organization, and I'm so glad I did, because I've grown so much personally, professionally. It's been a huge, obviously a huge thing for our community. But I'd
Yes.
be lying if I didn't say it's been, obviously good for myself and my family. So I think that sometimes I think we forget about that personal development, that professional development. I'm not the same person I was 24 years ago, and I'm not the same person I was, 5 years ago. And I think that's good. We need to keep changing and evolving and
Absolutely.
growing.
Well, I think you've hinted on a great point there, Leif. So, 20 years ago, 25
Mhm.
years ago, when we were marketing something, introducing an organization to someone, we just told them what we were about and expected that it was going to resonate with them. But it's a little
Mhm.
bit different now. When you talk about bringing in a member or a new organization to partner with us, we have to talk about how we're there to serve them. Why would you want to
Yes.
come work with us? Why would you want to give so much of your free time to exchange? And I think that's the difference in our tone. And what I'm hearing from you that's happened out in Billings, you're addressing what people want from you, not what you need from them.
Well, that's really good. And I think that's how we've been able to start, multiple clubs in an area, is really responding to what people want, like you said, because I started in a breakfast club that met every Friday morning for breakfast at 7. Well, that's not for everybody, especially if you've got young children. A breakfast meeting may not be the best situation. Maybe it's a lunch meeting in a business setting, that type of thing. And maybe if that's not your jam, maybe it's an after hours for an alcoholic beverage, non-alcoholic beverage, just a meal, something simple that's after hours. That works. And then, of course, recently we've responded to the call, and now we have a group of individuals that have special abilities that I certainly don't have, that I wish I had. And so now we're serving individuals in a population that also want to give back. So I think just being open to all of that, I think is important. I'm not going to lie, I got a little pushback at times for that, because people would say, "Gosh, Leif, why do we need another club?" And I
Mhm.
always say, we not everybody can meet for breakfast, lunch, or dinner, so we need to be willing to be flexible. And then the other thing is, I always say is, as long as there's people that are homeless, as long as there's veterans that are hungry, as long as there's women that are being abused, as long as there's children that don't have what they need for coats, hats, and gloves in the winter, there's always room for more exchange. And so I've always just kind of operated on that premise, and I think it's been good.
It's been great. And it's cool to see a community like Billings, because what we know is each club has its own culture, right? And what we also know is the person you invite to that meeting, they need to walk out thinking, I can see myself being part of this group. And so you need all those clubs, really, because like you said, the morning's not for everybody. This group's culture and tone, and maybe the formality or informality may not be a match
Mhm.
for them, or maybe even the projects they do. So it's good to be able to invite people to more than one club, to find the one that really fits them, so that they can walk out and say, I can see myself being part of this group, and really feeling valued and being able to do what I want to do.
Yep. Spot on,
Yeah, I
Tracy.
think if they don't see themselves fitting in or being a part of it,
Yes,
or have that vision, it doesn't matter what you say. They're not going to
exactly.
be as interested, for sure. So
Right.
Hmm.
So let's tell everybody a little bit more about you, Leif. I know that you've traveled the country over the years. You've gotten to know a lot of our members through
Hmm.
conventions and Zoom meetings, but there are a lot of people out there who don't know you. So if you could tell them
sure.
a little bit about, like, what's your favorite project? What project do you look forward to coming up every single year?
Yeah, no, I think a little bit about me. I'm born and raised right here in Billings, so I'm certainly a local fella, so to speak. Family is here, and my business is here, and those kinds of things. And I would say when we first started doing some of the projects, the one that really resonated with me was we took some underprivileged children shopping at Christmas time, which you would think that would be for toys and fun stuff, candy, whatever. And it really was not that. It was really helping them shop for things that they needed. Like I mentioned, the coats, hats, gloves,
Mhm.
pajamas, things that were really, really important. And it wasn't that they didn't have those things. So many times that they did. The difference was they either had things that didn't fit them because they were like
Yes.
hand-me-downs from another sibling, or they were really like almost like see-through, just worn out clothing that was not going to protect them in the winter. And so when I was able to actually take a couple children with me, we actually went shopping together as a club and walked them through the store, and they had a little shopping list of what they needed. And
Oh,
then to be able to just kind of do that with them, it was a great way to connect with them at a deeper level and really kind of see that we do have such a blessed life. And my children certainly did. And so I used to bring my kids along when they were little, and they really got to see, their eyes were opened as to
mhm.
what else is out there. And I think one of the things I'm really proud of is that they've seen that modeled. And so now my children are very much about community and giving back. And so I always tell people, they'll say to me, well, I don't know if I can join. I'm so busy. I've got kids. And I say, what a great way to lead and show an example to them of what can be done. And again, like you said, their 112% might look different, but what a great way to really kind of bring on that next generation. And why not start with your own family?
Well, you're so right. And, I think about an experience like that, like taking those kids shopping. It had to be such an empowering experience for them because I always think about when we do that, and you talked about they're looking for things like coats and pajamas every day. Like, look at the choices that all of us sitting here had this morning. What do I want for breakfast? Which color shirt do I want to wear? A lot of kids don't have those choices. They're wearing, here's what somebody gave you. Sorry, it doesn't fit well. Sorry, you don't like the color, but that's what you have. So to give them that shopping experience where they really have a decision and pick something they love that fits, that's empowering. They feel so much
Yep.
pride when they go to school the next day, and that makes a difference. I know that stays with them for years. So that's a wonderful project, like you said, to even get the next generation involved in, to see that. That's how we do it, really. When we think about how do we attract young people to exchange, it really starts at home.
It sure does. Like what you said, Leif, your children have been raised in this environment
Mhm.
now. And it doesn't sound like an obligation. It sounds like they feel like they um, must give back because they're able to.
Yes.
Yeah, I
So
think they
not
feel a
because they were raised in
responsibility
it.
as well.
hmm
Hmm.
Yep,
Yeah.
absolutely. And for the younger children, I've taken my kids on service projects, and
Mhm.
we've seen through conventions and other gatherings how many generations of exchange are coming up now. So you do see an effect when you
Yes.
introduce your children, your grandchildren, fellow club members, younger family members.
Right. In fact, in Houston, I met a third generation member.
Awesome.
I know. Pretty fantastic. So, pretty soon you'll be installed as the national president. What are you really looking forward to? And what message are you really looking forward to sharing with people? And let me just say one thing to add to that. It's interesting because we hear a lot that obviously you're a great club builder and you've had great impact in club building. Therefore, you make it look easy to people, even though we know it's not. So they count on you a lot to build the clubs. And I know your strong message is, hey, anybody can do this. You can do this too. So how do you envision just sharing that message, which is so important, throughout the country this year?
That's a great question. I think, like you said, it hasn't been easy. I think when people look from the outside, they see the growth, and they're like, "Oh my gosh, that must be easy for Leif and his group, or the Yellowstone District, or whatever group is doing it." And I would say it's not easy. It's simple. It's not easy, but it is so worth it, right? And so I think over the last several years, I've been beating my drum as I speak across the country. I've always been a big why guy. Like, why should you build
Okay.
exchange? Somebody started your club. You should start another one. Somebody sponsored you. You should give back and sponsor more people. And so I've always really helped people search for the why of why it's so important to keep that legacy going in their communities. But I think the next step for me is really I want to show people how, really get focused on the how. Like, okay, if you've got me motivated, I'm excited, I'm inspired. Now how do we do it? And so working with National, taking the tools that we have, the 5 steps of club building, the videos, the handouts, the tools and things that we have at our disposal are real and they're there. But I really want to just empower people, like you said, Tracy, to say, anybody can do this. If I can do it, trust me. Anybody can. If anybody knows me, they're like, oh my gosh, that guy can do it. Anybody can. But so it's really been great to see other places across the country, like Virginia or Tennessee or Texas or wherever, Georgia, to see clubs popping up and having growth and momentum and excitement. Really, I think gives other people hope, because I think sometimes people think, oh, there's just no way that I could do this or that we could do that. But I'm here to tell you that you can. And so we're going to really work on, I think, delivering that message, not only at the National Convention, but really throughout the whole year. And so just this last week, I was in Connecticut visiting with a group. And I said, I got done with a little bit of the why, and I got into the how. And then I said, let's identify a couple places where we could build a club. And I paused until they gave me some names. And then I said, okay, let's set a plan to build those clubs. Let's work with the end in mind. Let's set a date to when that's going to charter, when that's going to happen. And then let's work backwards. What do we need to do between now and, say, August 30th, September 15th, whatever the date is, and what do we got to do to make that happen? Because if there's no end in sight, no result, no goal, it's just a wish, right? It's just a wish. It's never going to happen because life gets in the way. We all get busy. Those kinds of hurdles will come up, obstacles. But as long as we keep that train of thought that this is our goal, this is why we're doing it, this is how we're going to do it. It's not just Leif. It's not just Tracy. It's not just Christy. As a team, we're going to move this whole thing forward. And I think sometimes people think they have to do it all themselves. And I'm here to tell them we're all in this together.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And where do you see our clubs fitting into communities, specifically going into this year? It's no secret that there's a lot of turmoil in our country right now, a lot of strife, and a lot of that is happening at the community level. So what is Exchange's place?
Great question. I think I talk about this all the time. Our country is very divided. It's easy to talk about politics and religion and things that really divide us, as opposed to saying, okay, I can appreciate somebody's political opinion or I can appreciate their religion. But really one of my goals, I think, and as a goal for our organization would be to be much more diverse, be a reflection of the community like we talk about, be much more equitable and fair, and then obviously be much more inclusive. That whole DEI movement is not just a trend, it's here to stay. And so people will ask me, well, what do you think about people that are might be, this is Pride Month, let's say, and people say, what do you think about people that have a different sexual orientation than I do? We're inclusive, and that's what we are. And so if we truly are that way, we're gonna attract more people that's going to resonate with. If we say we're gonna be willing to work with people of color, and whatever color that is. I always used to say Black Lives Matter, and I say Black Lives Matter, White Lives Matter, all lives matter. And so I think being inclusive on that respect, of course, is so key. And then last year, I was really motivated at the National Convention when I saw the Able and Ready Club, which some people would say that's a special needs club. I call them individuals with special abilities and talents I don't have. But that's a whole group of individuals that also want to serve and give back. And so why aren't we allowing them an opportunity when we already have the conduit and the ways into the community, the connections into the community? Why wouldn't we offer that to them? And so when we started that one in Billings, it just took off like crazy. And I thought, a lot of people were praising me, patting me on the back, saying, "Oh, that's great job." I'm like, no, shame on us. We should have done that 10 years ago. Because obviously the need was there, and we were not fulfilling filling that gap, fulfilling that need. And so I think there's a lot of room for growth. Just if we just think that way with the diverse equity and inclusion, I think we're going to find a lot more people that want to serve their community. I don't care what somebody believes in or their color, their race, their ethnic background. People will say, especially like here in Montana, I hear people say, well, I don't want people from Ohio to be moving to Montana or from California to be moving into Montana. And I always say, we need to embrace those people. I'm thrilled that they're going to come here because people from other parts of the country people with other thoughts, belief systems. That person could be your next son-in-law, your next daughter-in-law, your next employer, your next big business person in town, your next game changer, a change maker, whatever. And so I've really been working hard to flip that script and that narrative. And I think as a group, we really need to be working towards that. I think we would be surprised how many more people would join our mission of serving our communities. And so again, that goes back to that unity for service. We are the great unifiers, and we need to act like it.
Amen. Right. And you're absolutely right. We need to lead with unity for service. It doesn't mean you can join if. And truly, that's one of my favorite things about that motto is we don't have any qualifiers for somebody to join. So many organizations, associations have a classification where you can join if. We don't have that. Anybody can join, and it's in unity for service, and we need to be especially mindful of that. So I'm glad you brought that up. Well, it's almost time. And, our part of our role too at the national headquarters, we just want you to have a great experience and a great year. So what do you envision doing and seeing that will make this a great year and a great experience for you?
Well, I'm definitely looking forward to traveling around and seeing different parts of the country. You've probably heard me say this before. Last year I was in Mississippi having dinner with the Walters family. We're sitting around sharing, breaking bread together. And April Walters said to me, what are the people like in Montana, Leif? And at first I thought she was kidding. And then I realized she was serious. She's like, what are they really like in Montana? And I said, you know what, April, they're just like they are here in Mississippi. We all want to improve our families, improve our communities. We might eat different things. We might root for different teams, and we might talk a little different. We might talk a little funny up north. But the point is that we're really, at the end of the day, we're all very different, but we all want some of the same things in life. And so why not work together? And so I'm really hoping to spread that good news, share the good news of Exchange as I travel. But I also want to really give people hope that, hey, if we can do it in Billings, we can do it in Texas, we can do it in Tennessee, Mississippi, Seattle. I mean, you name it, we can do it. Even in Toledo, Ohio, we can grow Exchange. And so I'm really looking forward to really just sharing my passion, because I think people will walk away from that going, that guy made me think. I love what their board is doing, and what I love the movement, because I really feel it is a movement. And I talk about this. I'll wrap up with this: is that I used to always say, we really try to logic people into this organization. Well, don't you like kids and community, veterans, and the prevention of child abuse? Doesn't that make sense to you? And that, of course, it makes sense to people. Logically, they get that. But people are not moved by logic. People are moved by passion. People are moved when you share from the heart. And so I would say, just lead with your heart. Lead with your heart. Don't lead with your head, because your head will take you all kinds of crazy directions. But if you lead with your heart, and it's always in the right direction, of serving and giving, it'll always take you to the right spot. And so I'm really, really thrilled to go out and share the good news of Exchange, maybe just in a different perspective, not better, not worse, just maybe different than what they've heard before. But really, I want them to know that we're going to empower them together. It's not just about the why, but this is how we're going to do it. So excited for the future. Can't wait.
We're excited too.
Yeah. Well, you have me excited.
Absolutely. Well, have a great year. We're very excited about it. We wish you all the best, and thanks so much for your service to Exchange, and enjoy being the national president. Leif Welhaven, everybody. Thank you.
Thank you.
Awesome.
Nice.
Wow. That was awesome. What an awesome
I don't think there was one
message.
clapping.